Today we're going to work on Chapter 7, Lesson 2, in which we will be solving multi-step equations. Sometimes the equations will have distributive property in them, and sometimes they will have fractions in them. But what I want to start off with is two things. First of all, when there is distributive property in an equation, that's the first thing that you need to do, is you need to perform that distributive property so that you can do your second step, which is combining like terms. So what that means, in this problem, there is no distributive property. So what I need to do is I need to combine my like terms. I have a positive 3x here. I have a positive 6x here. So when I combine those two together, I have a total of positive 9x. I also need to combine my constants, my other like terms. I have a positive 5 and I have a negative 2. The negatives have the advantage by 2, so when I add 5 with negative 7, I get negative 2. So I now have 9x minus 2 equals 25. From here, I need to isolate the variable, get the variable all by itself. So remember the reverse order of operations. If there is addition or subtraction, those are the first two things that we want to undo. After that, the second and third thing is if there's multiplication or if there's division, then we will inverse that to get our variable all by itself. So in this problem, we have a minus 2, so we have to add 2 to both sides of the equation. This cancels out here. I drop down the 9x. I now have 9x equals, and 25 plus 2 is 27. Now I have a multiplication problem. It shows 9 times x. The inverse operation of multiplying by 9 is dividing by 9. So we divide both sides by 9. This cancels. 27 divided by 9 is 3. Therefore, x equals 3. Final answer. Now this next one involves distributive property. So the first thing we have to do here is we have to do our distributive property, which is 3 times x, which gives me 3x, and 3 times positive 10, which gives me positive 30. Everything else drops down. So the plus 6 drops down, and the equals 12 drops down. From here, I need to combine my like terms, and I have like terms here with positive 30 and 6. So we now have 3x plus 36 equals 12. My goal is to get the variable all by itself, so I have to undo the addition first. The inverse of addition is subtraction, so we're going to subtract 36 from both sides. This cancels and leaves me with 3x. 12 minus 36. Again, feel free to use your calculator on this. 12 minus 36 is negative 24. And then the last thing we need to do is divide both sides by 3 because it's showing 3 times x. And the inverse of multiplication is division. Dividing by 3, x equals, and then negative 24 divided by 3 gives me negative 8 as my final answer. Here's another one with distributive property. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to do 9 times x, which results in 9x. I need to do 9 times negative 2, which results in negative 18. I still have plus 15, and I still have the equals 33. From here, I need to combine my like terms of minus 18 and positive 15. This results in negative 3. Everything else drops down. So we have 9x minus 3 equals 33. Now notice that this time it's subtraction, and the inverse of subtraction is addition. So because it's showing minus 3 on both sides, or on the left side, I have to add 3 to both sides. That cancels, and I'm left with 9x equals 36, because 33 plus 3 is 36. The inverse operation of multiplying by x, 9 times x, is dividing by 9. So 9 divided by 9 gives me 1x, so x is now isolated all by itself. 36 divided by 9 is 4, so x equals 4. All right, I would like for you to pause the screen and go ahead and try this one on your own, and then when you're finished, hit play again and check your work. All right, now that you've come back, you should have started off by doing 4 times x. That gives you a result of 4x. You should have done 4 times positive 2, which gets you positive 8. The plus 5x drops down. The 26 drops down. I need to combine my like terms. In this case, I have a positive 4x and a positive 5x. That added together gives me 9x. I still have that plus 8, so I drop that down. And I still have the equals 26, so I drop that down. From here, the inverse of adding 8 is subtracting 8. Make sure you do it to both sides. That cancels. And 9x is equal to 26 minus 8 is 18. The last thing I need to do is divide both sides by 9, because that's what's being multiplied to the variable x. 9 divided by 9 is x, or 1x, and 18 divided by 9 is 2. Therefore, you should have had an answer of x equals 2. Now, sometimes in equations, you will see fractions. Don't let those fractions scare you, because we are going to get rid of them so we don't have to mess with them. So the first thing I want you to focus in on is we have a fraction with a denominator 2, a 6, and a 3. So I need to think, what is the smallest, the lowest common multiple of all three of those numbers, so that I can cancel it out. So if I think about my multiples of 2, I have 2, I have 4, I have 6, and I have 8. If I think about my multiples of 3, I have 3, I have 6, I have 9, and I have 12. And then my multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24. But what I notice here right away is all three of these have a multiple of 6. And since they all have a multiple of 6, and that's the smallest number that they all share, we're going to multiply the entire equation by 6. That means every single thing in the equation gets multiplied by 6. So notice I put parentheses around the entire equation, and I put a 6 out in front. What you can think of this as is, this is distributive property. I'm doing 6 times x divided by whatever the denominator is, 2. Well, 6 divided by 2 is 3, so I have 3x. Notice that's not a fraction anymore. The subtraction sign drops down, and then I do 6 times 5x, which gives me 30x, but I divide it by the denominator of 6. And that leaves me with 6 times 5 is 30, divided by 6 is right back to 5, so we have 5x. Notice the denominator is gone. I also have to multiply it by 1 and then divide it by the denominator of 3. So 6 times 1 is 6, divided by 3 is 2. So this is plus 2. The equal sign drops down, and then the last one, 6 times 1 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. So now notice I have a new equation that I can solve that has no variables. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve this by combining our like terms. 3x minus 5x is negative 2x. We have plus 2. We have equals 3. We're going to subtract 2 from both sides. This cancels. We're left with negative 2x is equal to, and 3 minus 2 was 1. The last thing I have to do is divide by negative 2, and we know that x is equal to negative 1/2. We can leave it in fraction form. But now we've solved the equation. We didn't have to mess with the fractions. We have an equation of x equals negative 1/2. All right, looking at this problem, we have 2, 4, and 8 as our denominators. So I'm going to start off by listing my multiples. I can go 2, 4, 6, 8. My multiples for 4 would be 4, 8, 12, 16. My multiples of 8 would be 8, 16, and so on. But right away, I notice that all three lists have the lowest common multiple of 8. So what we're going to do before we even start solving it is we're going to multiply this entire equation by 8. And 8 times 5 is 40. 40 divided by 8 is right back to 5n. 8 times 1 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. So instead of having 1/2, we have 4. Notice that subtraction sign drops down. The equal sign drops down. And then 8 times 3 is 24. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So now I have a new equation of 5n minus 4 equals 6. Let's go to the next screen and solve this. 5n minus 4 equals 6. We're going to start off by adding 4 to both sides of the equation. That cancels. We're left with 5n equals 10. Divide both sides by 5. And you'll see that n is equal to 2. And you're done. All right, new problem. What are your multiples of 2, 3, and 6? For 2, we have 2, we have 4, we have 6. For 3, we have 3, we have 6. For 6, we have 6 and 12. But you see that right away, all three lists have a multiple of 6. So we're going to multiply the entire equation by 6. 6 times x is 6x, divided by 2 is 3x. The plus sign drops down. 6 times 2 is 12, divided by 3 is 4. The equal sign drops down. And 6 times 5 is 30, divided by the denominator of 6, goes right back to 5. So now we're solving the equation 3x plus 4 equals 5. So 3x plus 4 equals 5. We're going to subtract 4 from both sides. Because remember, the goal is to get our variable x all by itself. So we have subtracted both sides by, sorry, I'm trying to go back to my color of blue. There we go. Subtract 4, that cancels. We're left with 3x equals 5 minus 4 is 1. Divide both sides by 3, and it's okay, you don't always get a whole number. 1 divided by 3 will leave as a fraction, therefore x equals 1/3. Don't worry about trying to change that to a decimal, especially a decimal like this that goes on forever and ever and ever. Leave it as a fraction, x equals 1/3. All right, now, this video we're going to do something a little bit different. So when you finish this video, I would like for you to come see me, and I have some practice problems on a sheet of paper that I would like for you to solve. So come see me and then solve these problems, and then I will check them when you're finished with that. If you have any questions at all, please, as always, let me know.